believe you. We're in the home stretch. Thank you all very much. You got one more speaker this afternoon.
I get it. My brain is fried
He's
today.
Explain it well. That's okay. President and Chief Client Officer for Fran Connect. Fran Connect is one of our vendor partners that does some back office stuff for us. Keith and I have been talking now for about 6 months. We utilize multiple of Fran Connect's tools within our organization. But the thing that really stands out the most is Keith's experience in this industry. 40 plus years, multiple roles. But the one that resounded the most with me was his ability to go into companies and turn them around. He was part of a company, Puriclean, that was at about the same position we are right now, same amount of units, same amount of income, and put some pieces and strategies in that really had exponential growth platforms for them. So Keith's going to speak today on Simply Better. He's going to speak today on four walls marketing, which is what we do from an operations standpoint. And he's going to speak today on how individuals, we're the ones that make the difference with our consumers. Hopefully I did that justice, Keith.
Perfect, Michael.
Excellent. Welcome, Keith Gerson.
What a dangerous position to be in. I'm the guy that stands between you and cocktails. It's really hard, obviously, at this time of day because there tends to be a little bit of ebb and flow in terms of energy levels. So I'm glad you guys just had a break. Hope you loaded up on caffeine. I have basically the similar affliction because I heard last year about Nicole saying that she was supposed to slow it down and not have quite as much content. I'm Nicole on steroids when it comes to that. Natalie, I'm so sorry, Natalie. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through defining Simply Better. But I'm going to do it because I'm going to share with you that I have a little bit in common with you all from the standpoint that besides 40 years in the franchising industry, 42 if I'm being honest about it, the fact is for 20 years, I was also an officer with the McDonald's Corporation. I started the franchising program for Jack in the Box restaurants from its inception, and I started the franchising program for Mrs. Fields during its first foray into the world of franchising. I've also been a franchisee. I've sat in your shoes, and I've had to make payroll. So I understand the realities of what it takes to really succeed in this business, except for one thing. And that is that I wake up every single day and I recognize that the only thing I know for sure is that I don't. Every single day when it comes to Simply Better, I have to be a continuous lifetime learner in terms of where and what it takes to be relevant. Because the world that I grew up in is nothing like the world we live in today. I mean, I grew up in a time in which, the notion of online banking, we couldn't even fathom. A microwave was high technology, But we live in a day and age now where people go online to get loans, and people, are doing everything now in a very different digital realm. So I'm going to share with you some of my insights, but some of those insights are specifically coming from the fact that I'm a certified franchise executive, but this company that Michael was alluding to, Fran Connect, is a company which is a best practices of franchising that's built into a technology. I'm not here selling anything. There's nothing to sell to you. What I am going to share with you is I've got the most unique access to the database of best practices. I know who the pretenders are. I know who the executors are in franchising. And you'd be surprised who some of the brands are that we represent. So I'm here to share some of my insights and findings, not just because it's my knowledge, but because I'm watching and making a study and getting access to this critical information. As Michael mentioned, I helped to grow a disaster mitigation restoration business. There has never been a more unsexy business in your entire life that you could contemplate. Imagine people saying, when I grow up, I want to learn to extract poopy water out of houses and businesses. This is a business a lot of times that people are going ahead and putting on those Tyvek suits, and just not a great business. And lo and behold, I step into the role as the chief executive officer over at Puro Systems when they were in significant decline, and it was the middle of the recession. And I did some things that were very counterintuitive, and we'll be talking about kind of the counterintuitive things that when everybody's zigging, you need to zag. So I'm going to share where and how we were able to take them from a system of 91 franchise locations in a business that had been operational for over 18 years, and in the 3 years of the recession, we built them to 314 locations. We increased system-wide revenues by over $100 million in a 3-year period, and increased our EBITDA at the corporate level by over 5.5-fold. So it was a good 3 years. So I'm going to share with you also, as I mentioned, some of the insights that come directly out of this database. So this is so interesting, and if time would have permitted, I probably would have taken you through the exercise of having you define the purpose of business. And most people would say the purpose of business is the making and keeping of customers. But Peter Drucker, who is considered the father of modern business, basically had, in my opinion, the best definition, which is the purpose of business is the making and keeping of a customer. So if you can effectively do that, and you're built on a solid economic foundation, you never have to worry about profitability. It will take care of itself. But there is also the notion of, anybody familiar with the works of Jim Collins? Wrote a book called Good to Great. It's a terrific read. He made a study basically of where and how it was that companies started at exactly the same time with the same caliber of exceptional leadership, the same capitalization, the same industry, and why it was that somebody could really make it at the same time that somebody was failing. And he identified what was referred to as the hedgehog concept. He basically said that what they found out was the differentiation between companies that started up and didn't go the distance, and those that did, was that they had the attributes, if you will, of the hedgehog. The hedgehog, the lonely little creature that rolls up in the ball and is able to, because of its little prickly exterior, no matter how fleet of foot the fox was, it could absolutely defend itself in a way that, even the bigger, stronger fleeter could not. Those three aspects were, first, the business had to be built on a solid economic foundation. And it's clear from your margins, et cetera, if you're increasing your revenues because you're increasing your customer counts and average checks, then you don't have to worry a bit about that profitability. The second thing that was a given, according to Jim Collins, was that you have to be the best in the world at what you do. I'm not saying in your neighborhood, I'm saying in the world at what you do. Because I said, just like within my own system, I'm able to see the difference between the pretenders and and there's a lot of folks out there that have a great product. But at the end of the day, can the consumer tell the difference between one and another? And is that what really keeps them for the long haul? So you have to have a product and something that you do that's your core purpose. But then the third component is really, I think, the secret sauce. And that is the fact that you have to be driven by a passion. It has to be more than about making money. It has to be a purpose that makes you get up in the morning and want to do what you do, because you know you are making life better for others. And you're creating jobs, and you're creating great experiences for the customer. So those three factors make all the difference. I had quite a rude awakening, and this is what kind of put me on my path. In 1990, I'm really going back now, Nation's Restaurant News, anybody ever read that publication? So yeah, okay, terrific publication, but I remember they had a little call-out box, this day in history, and they went back 20 years, and they showed a list of the top 10 restaurant chains in the United States 20 years earlier. And I was flabbergasted to find out that of the top 10 chains, only 3 of them 20 years later were even in existence. Isn't that an interesting fact? Let me see if you remember some of these names. Anybody remember a company called Howard Johnson's? The Red Roof Restaurants? Why are they not here anymore? They're not developing, but there was one thing in common, and this predates social media. There was a terrific word of mouth, a buzz predating social media that said you could pretty much count on a dirty restaurant and very apathetic service. Those factors, I'm telling you, if you ever had an experience there, you'll know that I'm speaking the truth on that. Anybody remember Bob's Big Boy? How about Burger Chef? There was once upon a time that White Castle ruled, right? Now there's just barely a footprint left. Marriott Hot Shops, Sambo's Restaurants. I mean, I could go on and name others that, you know, at one time really led their categories, and then what happened to them? Roy Rogers, predates Arby's. Remember Roy Rogers, roast beef? Kenny Rogers, roasters? I mean, Lesson, don't have the name Rogers in your name. So, but you see what I'm saying? 20 years of what a difference that made, because the fact is that what gets you here doesn't get you there. You don't want to be studying what McDonald's, for example, is doing today. You want to study what they were doing when they were a young, hungry organization. Do you know, by the way, that in 1970, when they did that 20 years in history, in Boston, Massachusetts, there was only one McDonald's restaurant. And in that same year in Boston, there was only one Burger King. My, how things change, right, in terms of their dominance and their footprint. So what is it that they did, and what is it that they did that also caused them to kind of lose their swagger? They're certainly bigger, but I don't think that anyone in this room would say bigger is better. They've turned over so many CEOs in the last 5 years, it's hard to keep a roster on them. They lost their way, and they're trying to get back now to the fundamentals of experience. They're trying to get back to quality, service, and cleanliness and hospitality.